we all went out on our own journey and our own path.
You know,
and so,
like I said, I've been watching all day long. Like I said, I've been listening to a lot of interviews. I've been watching the documentaries, and I keep hearing, okay, he had these great teachings, and he was this wisdom. People felt he was God, but what was specifically? What can you point to in the teachings that would I could hear now? Because I can't think of anything after listening all day long of what would really bowl me over and say, boy, this is some really great teaching. This is some great wisdom. What can you share?
It was for us. It was for us. You had to have been there.
Had to be there.
It was for that time frame.
Okay.
It was something that happened within the time frame, not only with us, but many people of that time frame. And it was kind of like we were infants. We were infants in a new frequency, a new experience. We were pioneers. The pioneers, if you look at any pioneer or forerunners in anything, some of it seems so archaic, like 50, 100 years later, where everything gets more advanced. And we were like in kindergarten with it all. So, yeah, it wouldn't maybe seem the same to you, but maybe you found something where that strikes that same core in you in the now. Well, that's just what happened then. It struck within that time frame.
Yeah, one thing that strikes me, from watching all these documentaries, is that everybody who experienced this was the experience of their life. They were really.
It was spirit. Yeah. We left the 50s. Our parents' generation was horrible. Cigarettes, alcoholism, drugs, the food we were eating. You left that, and anything looked like God. Anything looked like spirit. It was so pure. It was so different. It was so uplifting. It was a whole other dimension, and it was refreshing and so new that, my God, yes, it was paradise. I mean, people that were with Yogi Bhajan saw him that way. There were many founders and leaders of communes that their people saw their leaders in that way, and then but you work it out together. It got worked out together, and.
Now, what about, because in the documentary you describe a period of time where you moved to Hawaii and you guys are struggling, you're trying to farm, the locals are shooting at you. So,
that's where they started calling us the Manson family.
Right.
And we hindsight, okay, we shouldn't have gone with 200-300 people with long hair and robes to anywhere outside of L.A., maybe London, where that was not happening, especially an island, the Hawaiian Islands. They're very, there were so many hippies going to Hawaii and going on food stamps and crashing on their beaches that, 200 people hitting their island, they totally freaked out. They didn't know what we were going to do. So we should have gone in very quietly. We should have made ourselves basically not known, bought a monastery somewhere and just gone and lived among ourselves and let them get to know us, offered a service. We tried. We wanted to, open another restaurant and be of service to the community, but we weren't given that opportunity. But so we did leave. We went to San Francisco, and then we did come back to the Hawaiian Islands. We went to another island, and they actually embraced us. So it was the big island. It's the island the volcano's on. And they actually embraced us, and the men got to go out and get some work, and but that didn't last long because that's where, Father Yo left the body shortly after we moved to that island, and then we just kind of dispersed, and it was done with and over.
Well, what about the period of time where he felt that the apocalypse was approaching? And
you know what? That was a mindset of that time frame. We weren't the only ones. Everybody had that mindset that the end of the world was coming, the apocalypse was coming. but the world could not continue the way it was. And we went through that too. I mean, there was certain things about that time frame that we were put through. And like I say, it wasn't just us. It was that was very broad among many people. And we definitely. But I remember when I was growing up in the 50s, I mean, we just came out of a war in the 40s. The 50s, I remember there was the Cuba thing, and I remember living in Florida and we had drills every day where we had to get under our desk. So that mindset of a war, an end, disaster, destruction on a mass level has been there for a very long time. Don't you agree?
Yeah, a lot of people believe it today.
Well, we didn't have a nuclear holocaust, and that's before the hippies, flower kids, the communes even hit. A lot of us even grew up experiencing that. Everybody remembers having to get under a desk or building models. Or, the 40s was the war and Hitler, and I was born in the 40s, but, that was a thread that was carried into the 50s, and then the 50s carried into the 60s, and, those residue threads get carried into the next generations. So
now, the passing of Father Yod via the hang glider, can you describe that to us?
Yes. That was a period where for about a month before he went hang gliding, one of the brothers, Mercury, we were all living in Hilo on the Big Island. On Oahu, one of the brothers and Jupiter, they were going to go, they were gliding, and they're going to go and set Bruce and go and set the record, staying up here long as on the glider, which he did at that time. So when Mercury came to Oahu, that Father wanted to come in here, so he came with his women, and we actually had a place in Lanikai, which is where he left the bodies, a very beautiful ocean community. And Mercury set the record, and then we just kind of stayed here. And Father started his questioning and ending of it all here while he was away from the family. It was enough of a break for him to sit down, and he basically said, I'm done. He said, I've taught everybody everything they need to know, and everybody needs to disperse and go out on their own. The thing is, he'd tried that twice before. He tried it when we were in LA before. He tried it again very seriously in San Francisco, and it didn't work. Nobody would go. So this was like the third time. Finally, said, I'm done over it. I've done my journey. I'm on my journey, and everybody needs to, get. The little birds need to get kicked out of the nest, and everybody now needs to go out on their own and their own journey and path. And we went through about 3 weeks of him figuring out what to do about it. And finally, he just one day said, I'm going hang gliding. And he says, I'm just, a lot of people questioned, did he commit suicide? No. He would have just jumped off a cliff if he was going to do that. But what he did do was, I guess, a form of it to an extent that he left it up to God. He said, Jesus is the heir, he'll take care of me. And this is a man that was a Marine hero. He was a judo expert. He was a champion swimmer. I mean, he grew up excelling in daring things. Let me put it that way. This was not something uncommon for him. So when he said he was going hang gliding, we all kind of like flipped a little bit. But yet in the back of our mind, it was like, well, this is really not something different that he would have done all of his life. This is just something, this is very much like him, but we weren't very pleased about it. But that's what he was going to do, so we went with him. And the thing about when we went up on the cliff, the wind was just so high. It was just so strong, and it was just whipping. All of our clothes were blowing, and there was no reason for that hang glider not to go off the cliff and fly. Let me put it that way. As soon as he was launched and he went off the cliff, the wind came to a dead stop. I kid you not. It was so surreal that to this day, I don't understand it. And so he did. He started to go down. We followed him out over the ocean, and he came back, and we saw that he did land on land. So we all had to come down off the mountain, get in our cars, and go find him. He had landed in a park area, and there was a bunch of Hawaiian and Samoan people around him. The thing was, there was a policeman there, a fire truck, and an ambulance, and it was like time had stood still, and they were just standing there. Nobody had done anything. They didn't pick him up. They didn't do anything.
How long did it take you to get down there?
It took us 15, 20 minutes, because we didn't know exactly where we didn't know exactly where he was until we found him. And so when we found him, we all went over, and it was like everybody came to, and then they wanted to come and take him, and Father was lucid. There was no broken bones, there was no blood, and he said, I want to be taken home, just take me home. So we said, okay, and they let us take him, and the only thing wrong was he did say that he felt his back hurt, and he was wondering if he had broken his back. So we took him home to our house that we had there, and 9 hours later, he left the body, and he basically willed himself to leave. He took that opportunity to leave, and the autopsy report came back, and they said cause of death unknown. There was no broken bones. So that was something that we have pondered over the years about ourselves. But it was what it was, and he was done. He wanted to go, and he found a way to go, and that was that.
Now, there was something in the documentary about what you had him cremated, and you found some nails?
Well, yes. Then he was eventually cremated, and there was like these 3 spiked nails that were in the ashes, and we questioned them because we thought maybe he had shrapnel from the war days, but it wasn't shrapnel, they were nails. And so we questioned the mortuary. We thought maybe they, for some reason, they left them in there, and they said no, they didn't know what they were. They'd never seen anything like that. So, you talk about, we call them spiritual coincidences. You talk about miracles. It's just like strange things like that always happened within the family. And so I don't know.
Who has possession of those spikes today?
I have actually 2 of them. I don't know what happened to the third one.
Okay, fascinating. Okay. And
then we did do his ashes. We got together like 20 years after he had passed over, and we did do his ashes in Lanikai. And
but after the incident with the hang gliding, and he did pass away, you actually kept his body for 3 days chanting over it?
We kept his, yes. Yeah. That was our belief, and that's not an uncommon belief.
Okay.
That the Tibetans, the monks, the Dalai Lama, that's their belief too, is having a vigil, allowing the body to shut down, allowing the organs to shut down. That's like Jesus had his 3.5 days in the tomb, keeping the body for 3.5 days so you can do what they call review your river of life, and having that time undisturbed, where you don't have an autopsy or you're not cremated right away. And that just happened to have been our particular belief. It was something that was not unheard of. It's something that was kind of unheard of in Western civilization. But Yogi Bhajan